What if I told you that an ancient civilization practiced rituals so shocking that they left even their fiercest enemies in disbelief? Picture this, a city thriving on the coast of the Mediterranean, its people deeply devoted to gods who demanded the unthinkable. Carthage, a powerhouse of trade and war, was also a place where the line between faith and fear blurred in ways that still send chills down our spines today. From sacrifices that defied human understanding to ceremonies that seemed torn from the pages of a dark legend, the Carthaginians crafted a world of rituals that would leave the ancient world utterly stunned. In this video, we'll uncover 30 of these practices, each more mysterious and startling than the last. Why did they do it? What did it mean to them? And how did these rituals shape their society and terrify their neighbors? Stay with us as we dive into the heart of Carthaginian culture, unraveling the secrets that have baffled historians for centuries. By the end, you'll see why these rituals didn't just shock the ancient world, they reshaped it. Now turning to one of the most chilling practices of the Carthaginians, we delve into the ritual of child sacrifice to Baal Hammon. This act, deeply embedded in their religious beliefs, was seen as the ultimate offering to their chief god Baal Hammon, who was believed to control fertility and prosperity. The Carthaginians viewed these sacrifices as necessary to ensure the favor of the gods, a concept that horrified neighboring civilizations. Historical accounts, such as those from Roman writers like Diodorus Siculus, describe the ritual in grim detail. Parents would bring their children to the temple, where priests would place them on the outstretched arms of a bronze statue of Baal Hammon. The statue, heated from within, would symbolize the god accepting the offering. Archaeological evidence, including the Tophet of Carthage, a sacred burial ground, reveals thousands of urns containing the charred remains of infants and young animals. These findings confirm the scale and solemnity of the ritual, which was both a communal and deeply personal act of devotion. To the Carthaginians, this practice was a sacred duty, but to outsiders like the Romans, it was a barbaric act that fueled their disdain and fear. The shockwaves of this ritual echoed across the ancient world, leaving a legacy of controversy and mystery that still haunts our understanding of Carthaginian culture today. As we shift our focus, we come to the fascinating yet enigmatic ritual of the Sacred Fire of Tanit. This practice was central to Carthaginian worship of Tanit, the goddess of fertility, the moon, and the heavens. The sacred fire, which burned perpetually in her temple, symbolized the eternal presence of the divine and the unbroken connection between the Carthaginians and their gods. The priests of Tanit, known as the Kohanim, were tasked with the solemn duty of ensuring the fire never extinguished. This responsibility was seen as sacred, as the fire was believed to channel Tanit's blessings upon the city, fertility for the land, protection for the people, and favor in their endeavors. The flames were also thought to purify offerings and prayers, making them acceptable to the goddess. For outsiders, however, this ritual was both awe-inspiring and unsettling. The perpetual fire, maintained with such devotion, seemed almost otherworldly, and the secrecy surrounding the inner workings of the temple fueled rumors and fear. Some even believed the fire had mystical powers capable of cursing those who dared to disrespect it. The Sacred Fire of Tanit, while a symbol of life and divine favor to the Carthaginians, became a source of fascination and dread for neighboring cultures, further cementing Carthage's reputation as a city of mysterious and powerful rituals. As the moon ascended over Carthage, the city transformed into a realm of shadows and secrecy with the arrival of the Night of the Masks. This enigmatic nocturnal ritual was a spectacle unlike any other, where participants donned intricately crafted masks to ward off evil spirits and protect themselves from malevolent forces. The masks, often depicting grotesque or exaggerated features, were believed to confuse and repel the unseen entities that wandered the night. For the Carthaginians, this ritual was a vital act of spiritual defense, ensuring the safety and well-being of the community. The ceremony began at dusk, with masked figures gathering in the city's central square, illuminated only by flickering torches. Chants and incantations filled the air as the masked procession moved through the streets, creating an atmosphere that was both solemn and surreal. The Night of the Masks was deeply rooted in Carthaginian spirituality, reflecting their belief in the constant presence of spirits and the need to maintain a balance between the human and supernatural realms. For neighboring cultures, however, this ritual was anything but comforting. The sight of masked figures chanting in the darkness struck fear into the hearts of outsiders, who viewed the practice as a sign of dark magic and otherworldly influence. The eerie nature of the ritual, combined with the secrecy surrounding it, fueled rumors of sinister intentions and supernatural powers. While the Carthaginians saw the Night of the Masks as a protective measure, it became yet another example of their rituals that bewildered and unsettled the ancient world. With the echoes of the Night of the Masks still lingering, we now turn to a ritual that bound Carthage warriors in both blood and spirit. The Blood Oath of Warriors was a solemn and visceral ceremony that cemented the loyalty of soldiers to their commanders and to the city itself. Before heading into battle, warriors would gather in a sacred space, often under the watchful eyes of their gods, to swear an unbreakable oath. The ritual involved drinking the blood of a sacrificed animal, symbolizing their willingness to shed their own blood for the cause. This act was not just a display of bravery, but a profound commitment to unity and sacrifice. The Carthaginians believed that sharing blood created an unbreakable bond, transforming individual soldiers into a single, invincible force. For the warriors, it was a moment of empowerment, reinforcing their role as protectors of Carthage and its people. However, for Roman observers, this ritual was nothing short of barbaric. The sight of men drinking blood to pledge loyalty was seen as a grotesque and savage act, further fueling Rome's disdain for Carthaginian customs. Roman writers often described the ritual with horror, using it as evidence of the so-called barbarism of their enemies. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the blood oath was a sacred tradition that strengthened their military and ensured unwavering loyalty in the face of adversity. It stands as another testament to the rituals that both defined and divided the ancient world. Now shifting our focus to a more serene yet equally intriguing ritual, we enter the sacred groves of Asherah. These groves were lush, secluded sanctuaries dedicated to Asherah, a goddess associated with fertility, nature, and the nurturing aspects of life. Within these sacred spaces, Carthaginians performed rituals that celebrated the natural world and sought the blessings of the divine. Offerings of fruits, flowers, and grains were placed at the base of towering trees, which were believed to be the dwelling places of the goddess. Dancers, adorned in flowing garments, moved gracefully to the rhythms of flutes and drums, their movements symbolizing the cycles of life, growth, and renewal. These ceremonies were deeply spiritual, connecting the people to the land and the divine forces that sustained it. For the Carthaginians, the groves were places of peace and reverence, where they could commune with Asherah and express gratitude for her gifts. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans and other neighboring cultures, these rituals were seen as deeply pagan and superstitious. The worship of nature and the use of groves as sacred spaces were viewed as primitive and uncivilized. Roman writers often dismissed these practices as evidence of Carthaginian backwardness, failing to grasp the profound spiritual connection they represented. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the sacred groves of Asherah were a vital part of their religious identity, reflecting their harmony with the natural world and their reverence for the divine feminine. This ritual, like so many others, reveals the cultural divide that both fascinated and repelled the ancient world. Now turning to a ritual that struck fear and fascination into the hearts of the ancient world, we delve into the Festival of Moloch. This event was one of the most chilling and controversial practices of Carthaginian culture, centered around the worship of Moloch, a deity associated with fire, sacrifice, and the promise of prosperity. During the festival, Carthaginians believed that offering sacrifices to Moloch would secure divine favor, ensuring bountiful harvests, military victories, and the overall well-being of their society. The most harrowing aspect of this ritual was the sacrifice of children, a practice that both horrified and intrigued neighboring civilizations. Archaeological evidence, including inscriptions and remains found at Carthaginian sites, suggests that these sacrifices were carried out in a highly ceremonial manner. The children were adorned and prepared as sacred offerings, their lives given willingly or under societal pressure to appease Moloch. The rituals took place at towering bronze statues of the god, with outstretched arms and a hollow interior where fires were lit. The offerings were placed into the heated statue, symbolizing their transformation into divine blessings. For the Carthaginians, this act was seen as a necessary and sacred duty, a way to maintain balance and secure the future of their people. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans and Greeks, this practice was viewed as barbaric and unforgivable. Roman historians often cited the Festival of Moloch as evidence of Carthaginian savagery, using it to justify their disdain and even their military campaigns against Carthage. Yet, within Carthaginian society, the festival was deeply ingrained in their religious identity, reflecting their belief in the power of sacrifice and their willingness to make profound offerings for the greater good. This ritual not only shaped Carthaginian culture, but also sent shockwaves across the Mediterranean, leaving an indelible mark on the ancient world's perception of Carthage. The Festival of Moloch remains a stark reminder of the lengths to which societies will go in their pursuit of divine favor and prosperity. Now shifting our focus to a ritual that symbolized power and cohesion within Carthaginian leadership, we explore the ritual of the bull's hide. This unique ceremony was deeply rooted in Carthaginian traditions, serving as a powerful symbol of strength, unity, and authority. During this ritual, leaders were carefully wrapped in the hide of a bull, a creature revered for its raw power and vitality. The act of enveloping oneself in the bull's hide was believed to transfer the animal's formidable energy to the leader, reinforcing their capacity to guide and protect their people. The origins of this ritual can be traced back to ancient agricultural practices, where bulls were seen as essential to the fertility and prosperity of the land. Over time, this connection to physical strength and abundance evolved into a symbolic act of leadership, emphasizing the ruler's role as a unifying force within the community. For the Carthaginians, the ritual was a sacred affirmation of their leader's ability to embody the collective strength and resilience of their society. However, neighboring cultures often viewed this practice with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The Romans, in particular, found the ritual peculiar, interpreting it as a display of excess or superstition. Despite these outsider perceptions, the ritual of the bull's hide remained a cornerstone of Carthaginian political and religious life, reflecting their deep connection to the natural world and their belief in the transformative power of symbols. This ritual not only reinforced the authority of Carthaginian leaders, but also highlighted the cultural values that defined their civilization, leaving a lasting impression on the ancient world. Now turning to a ritual that blended reverence with an air of mystery, we delve into the Dance of the Dead. This ceremonial practice was a cornerstone of Carthaginian ancestor worship, performed to honor those who had passed on and to ensure their continued guidance and protection. The dances were often held during significant festivals or memorial occasions, with participants moving in intricate patterns to the rhythm of drums and chanting. These movements were believed to bridge the gap between the living and the dead, creating a sacred connection that allowed the spirits of ancestors to impart wisdom and blessings. For the Carthaginians, the Dance of the Dead was a deeply spiritual and celebratory act, a way to remember loved ones and affirm their lasting presence in the community. The dances were accompanied by offerings of food, wine, and incense, further solidifying this bond between the mortal and the divine. However, for outsiders, particularly the Romans and Greeks, these performances were unsettling. The rhythmic, almost trance-like movements, combined with the somber yet intense atmosphere, were often interpreted as eerie or even macabre. Neighboring cultures struggled to reconcile the celebratory nature of the ritual with its association with death, viewing it as a strange and foreign practice. Despite these outsider perceptions, the Dance of the Dead remained a vital expression of Carthaginian identity and spirituality. It underscored their belief in the enduring influence of ancestors and the importance of maintaining a connection with those who had shaped their history. This ritual not only honored the past but also reinforced the continuity of life and legacy, leaving an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of the ancient world. Shifting our focus to a ritual deeply rooted in Carthage's agricultural life, we explore the offering of the first fruits. This practice was a vital expression of gratitude, where the earliest yield of the harvest was ceremonially presented to the gods. For a society heavily reliant on farming, this ritual was not just a spiritual act but also a practical acknowledgement of the land's bounty and the divine favor that made it possible. The Carthaginians believed that by offering the first fruits, they ensured continued fertility and prosperity for future harvests. The ceremony itself was a communal celebration, with entire villages gathering to present baskets of freshly harvested grains, fruits, and vegetables at temples or sacred altars. Priests would then bless the offerings, symbolizing the gods' acceptance of the gifts. This act of devotion was accompanied by prayers, chants, and sometimes even music, creating a festive atmosphere that highlighted the interconnectedness of the people, their land, and their deities. The ritual reinforced social bonds as it was a collective expression of faith and shared hope for abundance. However, to the Romans, who viewed themselves as more advanced and rational, this practice seemed outdated and superstitious. They saw it as a relic of a primitive past, dismissing it as an unnecessary reliance on divine intervention rather than human ingenuity and hard work. This clash of perspectives highlighted the cultural divide between Carthage and Rome, with the former embracing rituals that celebrated natural cycles and the latter prioritizing progress and control over the environment. Despite Roman disdain, the offering of the first fruits remained a cornerstone of Carthaginian identity, embodying their reverence for the land and their belief in the divine forces that sustained it. This ritual not only honored the gods but also served as a reminder of humanity's dependence on nature, a truth that resonated deeply within an agrarian society. Now turning to a ritual that symbolized both transformation and renewal, the purification by fire stands out as one of the most intriguing practices in Carthaginian culture. This ritual was deeply rooted in the belief that fire possessed a divine power to cleanse impurities, whether physical or spiritual. Objects, sacred tools, and even individuals were passed through flames or exposed to fire's heat as a symbolic act of purification. The Carthaginians saw this as a way to restore harmony and balance, removing any negativity or corruption that might hinder their connection to the divine. The ceremony often took place during significant religious festivals or moments of transition, such as the start of a new season or before important communal events. Priests would lead the ritual, chanting prayers and invoking the gods to bless the process. Participants, whether carrying sacred artifacts or stepping through flames themselves, believed they were being reborn in a sense, emerging purified and renewed. The act was both awe-inspiring and humbling, a vivid reminder of the power of the elements and the gods' presence in their lives. However, this ritual was often misunderstood by neighboring cultures, particularly the Romans, who viewed it with a mix of fascination and fear. To them, the idea of willingly exposing oneself or valuable objects to fire seemed reckless, even barbaric. They failed to grasp its spiritual depth, interpreting it as a superstitious act rather than a profound expression of faith. This misunderstanding further deepened the cultural divide between Carthage and Rome, highlighting their differing approaches to spirituality and the divine. Despite external skepticism, the purification by fire remained a vital part of Carthaginian religious life. It embodied their belief in the transformative power of the gods and the constant need for renewal in both the physical and spiritual realms. This ritual not only strengthened their faith but also served as a powerful symbol of their resilience and devotion, a testament to a culture deeply attuned to the sacred forces that govern their world. As we venture into a practice that sparked both devotion and dissent, the ritual of the sacred prostitutes unveils a lesser-known yet provocative aspect of Carthaginian spirituality. This ritual centered around the role of temple prostitutes, who are seen as conduits between the divine and the mortal world. In Carthaginian belief, these individuals were not merely participants but sacred figures, embodying the life-giving and fertile powers of the gods. Their presence in religious ceremonies was thought to invoke blessings of abundance, both in the harvest and in human fertility. The rituals often took place during festivals dedicated to deities associated with fertility and love, such as Tanit and Astarte. Temple prostitutes would engage in symbolic acts believed to channel divine energy, ensuring the prosperity of the community. These ceremonies were deeply rooted in the Carthaginians' connection to the natural world, reflecting their belief in the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. For them, this practice was a sacred duty, a way of honoring the gods and securing their favor. However, this ritual was met with widespread scandal and condemnation by neighboring cultures, particularly the Romans and Greeks. They viewed the involvement of prostitutes in religious rites as immoral and sacrilegious, failing to grasp its spiritual significance. To outsiders, it seemed like a corruption of sacred traditions, leading to harsh criticism and a deepening of cultural divides. The Carthaginians, on the other hand, saw it as an essential expression of their faith, a practice that reinforced their bond with the divine and the natural world. Despite the controversy, the ritual of the sacred prostitutes remained a vital part of Carthaginian religious life. It underscored their belief in the interconnectedness of all aspects of existence, from the physical to the spiritual. This practice, though shocking to outsiders, served as a powerful reminder of a culture deeply attuned to the sacred rhythms of life and the gods who govern them. Now shifting our focus to a practice that sent shockwaves across the ancient world, we delve into the ritual of the sacrifice of the war captives. This ritual was a stark reminder of the brutal realities of Carthaginian warfare and their unwavering devotion to their gods. When Carthage emerged victorious in battle, enemy captives were not spared or enslaved but instead offered as sacrifices to the deities, particularly Baal Hammon and Tanit. These sacrifices were seen as a way to express gratitude for the gods' favor in battle and to ensure continued support in future conflicts. The ritual itself was both ceremonial and harrowing. Captives were often led to a sacred altar where priests would perform the act of sacrifice in a highly ritualized manner. The act was not merely about taking life but was deeply symbolic, representing the transfer of the captive's strength and vitality to the gods. For the Carthaginians, this was a sacred exchange, a way of honoring the divine and maintaining the cosmic balance that they believed governed their world. Beyond its religious significance, this ritual served as a powerful tool of war propaganda. By publicly sacrificing captives, Carthage sent a clear message to its enemies about the consequences of defiance. It was a display of dominance and an assertion of divine backing, meant to instill fear and discourage rebellion. The psychological impact of this practice was immense, both for the Carthaginians and their adversaries. For the Carthaginians, it reinforced their sense of invincibility under divine protection. For their enemies, it was a chilling reminder of the stakes of war. The Romans, in particular, were horrified by this practice. To them, such sacrifices were barbaric and antithetical to their own values of mercy and justice, even in warfare. Roman historians often cited this ritual as evidence of Carthaginian savagery, using it to justify their own campaigns against Carthage. This cultural clash further deepened the animosity between the two civilizations, contributing to the eventual destruction of Carthage. Despite its shocking nature, the ritual of the sacrifice of the war captives was a deeply ingrained aspect of Carthaginian warfare and spirituality. It reveals a civilization that saw violence not as an end in itself but as a sacred act, a means of communing with the divine and securing their place in the world. While it appalled outsiders, it was a testament to the Carthaginians' unyielding faith and their belief in the god's omnipotence. Now stepping into the realm of celestial reverence, we uncover the ritual of the moon goddess, a practice steeped in mystery and nocturnal devotion. The Carthaginians held the moon in high regard, viewing it as a symbol of cycles, fertility, and the unknown. They dedicated elaborate ceremonies to honor the moon goddess, often conducted under the soft glow of the night sky. These rituals were deeply mystical, blending chants, offerings, and symbolic gestures to invoke her blessings. As darkness fell, priests and priestesses would gather in sacred spaces, adorned in shimmering garments that mirrored the moon's ethereal light. The ceremonies began with rhythmic chanting, designed to align the participants with the goddess's energy. Offerings of silver, milk, and crescent-shaped cakes were laid out on altars, each item carefully chosen to reflect the moon's purity and influence. The atmosphere was charged with reverence, as the Carthaginians believed the moon goddess held power over life's transitions and the tides of fortune. What made this ritual particularly intriguing was its connection to the unseen world. The Carthaginians saw the moon as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a guide through the mysteries of existence. The nocturnal nature of these ceremonies only heightened their mystique, as the darkness seemed to amplify their spiritual intensity. For outsiders, however, these rituals were often perceived as unsettling. The Romans, for instance, viewed such practices as strange and superstitious, unable to comprehend the depth of devotion behind them. Yet for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the moon goddess was a profound expression of their relationship with the cosmos. It was a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the ever-present influence of the divine. While it may have baffled or disturbed others, it stood as a testament to the Carthaginians' ability to find meaning in the celestial and to honor the unseen forces they believed shaped their world. Now turning to a practice that intertwines the mystical with the medicinal, we explore the ritual of the sacred serpent, a fascinating aspect of Carthaginian spirituality. Serpents held a sacred place in their culture, revered not just as creatures of the earth but as powerful symbols of healing, transformation, and divine insight. The Carthaginians believed that serpents were conduits of the god's wisdom, capable of revealing secrets of the future and offering remedies for ailments of the body and soul. In this ritual, serpents were kept in temples and treated with utmost respect, often adorned with precious metals and stones. Priests and priestesses would perform ceremonies where they would handle the serpents, interpreting their movements as messages from the divine. These movements were thought to predict future events or uncover hidden truths, making the serpents a central figure in the Carthaginian spiritual and prophetic practices. Beyond prophecy, the serpents were also involved in healing rituals. Their shed skin was believed to possess curative properties, and their mere presence was thought to purify the air and ward off illness. The Carthaginians' reverence for serpents was deeply symbolic, representing rebirth and renewal as the serpent sheds its skin. This connection to cycles of life and transformation made the ritual a powerful expression of their beliefs. However, for neighboring cultures, particularly the Romans, this practice was seen as deeply unsettling. The idea of handling serpents in religious ceremonies was viewed as bizarre and even dangerous, reflecting a fundamental cultural divide in how the natural world was understood and respected. Yet for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred serpent was a profound testament to their ability to find sacredness in the natural world. It showcased their belief in the interconnectivity of all things and their commitment to seeking divine guidance in the most unexpected places. While it may have bewildered outsiders, this ritual remains a striking example of Carthaginian spirituality, blending the mystical with the practical in ways that continue to captivate and intrigue. Now shifting our focus to the waves and the winds, we delve into the Festival of the Sea God, a pivotal celebration that underscored Carthage's deep connection to the maritime world. As a civilization whose prosperity was built on trade and naval dominance, the Carthaginians held the sea god in the highest regard, believing their fortunes on the water were directly tied to divine favor. This annual festival was not just a spiritual event but a grand display of their maritime prowess and unity. The festivities began with elaborate ship processions, where vessels adorned with colorful banners and sacred symbols sailed in unison along the coastline. These processions were both a tribute to the sea god and a demonstration of Carthage's naval strength, showcasing the skill of their sailors and the beauty of their ships. Offerings were made at sea, including precious goods, food, and even small statues of ships, cast into the waves as gifts to ensure safe voyages and bountiful trade. At the heart of the festival was the belief that the sea god controlled the tides, storms, and fortunes of sailors. Carthaginian priests performed rituals on the shores, chanting prayers and burning incense to invoke the god's protection. The ceremonies also included the sacrifice of animals, whose blood was poured into the sea as a symbolic gesture of renewal and respect for the ocean's power. For the Carthaginians, this festival was more than a religious observance. It was a reaffirmation of their identity as a seafaring nation. It reinforced their reliance on the sea for survival and prosperity, while also inspiring a sense of pride and unity among the people. To neighboring cultures, however, the festival was seen as a testament to Carthage's ambition and its mastery of the Mediterranean, a reminder of the city's formidable naval capabilities. The Festival of the Sea God remains a fascinating glimpse into how the Carthaginians intertwined their spirituality with their daily lives and strategic ambitions. It highlights their ability to honor the divine while simultaneously celebrating their achievements, a balance that continues to captivate those who study this ancient civilization. Now stepping into the heart of Carthaginian family traditions, we uncover the ritual of the ancestral feasts, a celebration that brought families together in remembrance of their forebears. These feasts were not merely meals but profound acts of reverence, honoring the ancestors who were believed to guide and protect the living. For the Carthaginians, this ritual was a cornerstone of their cultural and spiritual identity, blending food, family, and faith into a single, meaningful event. Families would gather in their homes or communal spaces, preparing lavish meals that included the finest meats, grains, and wines. These dishes were placed on altars as offerings to the ancestors, accompanied by prayers and chants inviting their spirits to join the feast. It was believed that by sharing food with the dead, the living could maintain a connection with their lineage, ensuring the ancestors' continued favor and blessings. The feasts were also a time for storytelling, where elders recounted the deeds and wisdom of past generations. This oral tradition not only preserved family history, but also instilled a sense of pride and continuity in younger members. The ritual reinforced the idea that the family unit was unbreakable, transcending even the boundary between life and death. To outsiders, however, these feasts were viewed as extravagant and excessive. The amount of food and resources dedicated to the dead seemed wasteful to cultures that did not share the same reverence for ancestors. Roman observers, in particular, often criticized the Carthaginians for what they saw as an irrational devotion to the deceased. Yet, for the Carthaginians, these feasts were a vital expression of their values, a way to honor those who came before and ensure their legacy endured. The ritual of the ancestral feasts offers a window into the deeply familial and spiritual nature of Carthaginian society. It reminds us that for this ancient civilization, the bonds of family stretched beyond the grave, connecting the past, present, and future in a cycle of remembrance and respect. As the next chapter unfolds, we move to a ritual that marked the body as sacred, exploring the practice of tattooing in Carthaginian religious life. Now shifting our focus to a practice that marked the body as sacred, we explore the ritual of the sacred tattoos in Carthaginian religious life. Unlike modern tattoos, which are often seen as personal expression or decoration, these markings held deep spiritual significance for the Carthaginians. Tattooing was not just an art form but a sacred act, a way to connect with the divine and display one's devotion to the gods. The tattoos were typically intricate designs, often featuring symbols associated with deities like Tanit or Baal Hammon. These symbols were believed to offer protection, blessings, and a direct link to the divine. For warriors, tattoos marked their bravery and allegiance to the gods of war, while priests and priestesses used them to signify their sacred roles. The process of tattooing itself was a ritual, often accompanied by prayers and chants to invoke the god's presence and infuse the tattoos with spiritual power. For the Carthaginians, these tattoos were a powerful expression of faith and identity. They were seen as a way to carry the god's presence with them at all times, a constant reminder of their spiritual duties and the protection of the divine. However, this practice was met with disdain by the Romans, who viewed tattooing as barbaric and uncivilized. To them, marking the body in such a permanent way was a sign of savagery, a stark contrast to their own more restrained religious practices. The ritual of the sacred tattoos highlights the profound connection between the physical and spiritual worlds in Carthaginian culture. It shows how even the body itself could become a sacred vessel, a canvas for devotion and identity. As we continue, we turn to a ritual that honored the heavens themselves, exploring the ceremonies dedicated to the sun god and their astronomical significance. Now delving into the skies and the celestial, we uncover the ritual of the sun god, a Carthaginian practice that celebrated the divine power of the sun. This ritual was deeply intertwined with the natural world, particularly the cycles of the sun, which symbolized life, renewal, and the god's favor. The Carthaginians believed that by honoring the sun god, they could ensure prosperity, good harvests, and divine protection for their city. The ceremonies often took place at significant solar events such as the solstices and equinoxes, when the sun's position in the sky held special meaning. Temples and altars were carefully aligned with these celestial events, creating a direct connection between the physical structures and the heavens. Offerings of gold, grains, and wine were made to the sun god, symbolizing the gifts of light and life that he bestowed upon the earth. One of the most fascinating aspects of this ritual was its astronomical precision. The Carthaginians, known for their advanced understanding of the stars, incorporated this knowledge into their worship. They tracked the sun's movements meticulously, using it to mark time and guide their agricultural practices. This blend of religion and science showcased their reverence for the natural order and their belief in the harmony between the divine and the earthly. However, outsiders, particularly the Romans, viewed these practices with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. While they admired the Carthaginians' astronomical expertise, they found the worship of a sun god to be overly mystical and, in some cases, even superstitious. The idea of aligning temples with the sun's path seemed exotic and unnecessary to a culture that preferred more pragmatic forms of worship. The ritual of the sun god reveals the Carthaginians' deep respect for the forces of nature and their ability to merge spiritual devotion with scientific observation. It's a testament to their belief that the divine was not distant but deeply woven into the fabric of the world around them. As we move forward, we'll explore another ritual that brought the community together in celebration of the sacred. Now shifting our focus to another vibrant aspect of Carthaginian culture, we encounter the ritual of the sacred dances. These ecstatic dances were a cornerstone of many religious festivals, serving as a powerful way to connect with the divine. The dancers, often in a trance-like state, moved rhythmically to the beat of drums and the melody of flutes, their bodies becoming instruments of spiritual expression. The purpose of these dances was to invoke the presence of the gods, to seek their blessings, and to celebrate the harmony between the human and the divine. For the Carthaginians, these dances were not just performances but sacred acts of devotion. They believed that through movement and rhythm, they could transcend the physical world and commune with the gods. The dancers, adorned in elaborate costumes and sometimes painted with symbolic designs, embodied the spirits they sought to honor. The entire community often participated, creating a collective energy that was both awe-inspiring and deeply spiritual. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans, these sacred dances appeared wild and chaotic. The fervor and intensity of the dancers were often misunderstood as excessive or even barbaric. The Romans, with their more restrained approach to worship, viewed the Carthaginian rituals as lacking in decorum. They saw the ecstatic movements and the use of music and dance as overly emotional, a stark contrast to their own structured ceremonies. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the sacred dances were a profound expression of their faith and cultural identity. They were a way to celebrate the divine in every aspect of life, from the cycles of nature to the joys of community. As we continue, prepare to explore yet another ritual that highlights the Carthaginians' unique blend of devotion and tradition. Now turning to the ritual of the blood of the lamb, we uncover a practice steeped in symbolism and spiritual significance. The Carthaginians believed that the blood of a lamb held powerful purifying properties, capable of cleansing both individuals and sacred spaces of impurities. During these rituals, a lamb was carefully chosen and sacrificed, its blood then used to anoint altars, statues, and even the participants themselves. This act was seen as a way to renew their connection with the divine, ensuring the favor of the gods and the protection of the community. The lamb, with its gentle and innocent nature, symbolized purity and sacrifice. By offering its blood, the Carthaginians sought to mimic the divine balance between life and death, renewal and destruction. The ritual was often performed during significant religious festivals or in times of crisis, serving as a reminder of the cyclical nature of existence and the need for spiritual renewal. The blood, in this context, was not merely a physical substance but a sacred medium that bridged the mortal and the divine. However, neighboring cultures, particularly the Greeks and Romans, often misinterpreted this ritual. To them, the use of blood in religious ceremonies was unsettling, even barbaric. They viewed it as a primitive act, failing to grasp its deeper symbolic meaning. The Carthaginians' emphasis on blood as a purifying agent clashed with the more restrained and less visceral religious practices of their Mediterranean neighbors. This misunderstanding fueled the perception of Carthaginian rituals as strange and excessive, further deepening the cultural divide. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the blood of the lamb was a profound expression of their faith and worldview. It underscored their belief in the interconnectedness of life, death, and the divine, and their commitment to maintaining spiritual harmony. As we move forward, we'll delve into another ritual that reveals the Carthaginians' unique approach to worship and their enduring influence on the ancient world. As we step into the next chapter of Carthaginian rituals, let's turn our attention to the ritual of the sacred flute, a practice that wove music into the very fabric of their spiritual life. The flute, with its haunting and melodic tones, was more than just an instrument to the Carthaginians. It was a bridge to the divine. In their ceremonies, the flute's music was believed to carry prayers and invocations directly to the ears of the gods, creating a sacred atmosphere that transcended the ordinary. Skilled players, often priests or temple musicians, would perform intricate melodies designed to summon the gods' presence and blessings. The sound of the flute was thought to echo the voices of the heavens, making it an essential element in their worship. But the significance of the flute went beyond its musical role. For the Carthaginians, it was a symbol of harmony and balance, qualities they sought to cultivate in both their spiritual and earthly lives. The crafting of the flute itself was a ritualistic process, with each instrument carefully made from sacred materials and blessed before use. Its music was believed to align the human spirit with the divine order, creating a sense of unity and purpose during religious festivals and ceremonies. The flute's melodies were not just heard, they were felt, resonating deeply with the participants and drawing them into a shared spiritual experience. For outsiders, however, this ritual was often seen as mysterious, even otherworldly. Cultures like the Greeks and Romans, who valued structured and rational worship, found the Carthaginians' reliance on music to connect with the divine perplexing. The emotional and almost hypnotic quality of the flute's music struck them as strange, even unsettling. They couldn't quite grasp how something so intangible could hold such power. To the Carthaginians, though, the flute was a reminder that the divine could be experienced not just through sight or thought, but through sound, a concept that set their rituals apart from those of their neighbors. The ritual of the sacred flute highlights the Carthaginians' deep connection to art and spirituality, showing how they saw music as a vital part of their religious expression. As we continue, we'll uncover yet another ritual that reveals the richness and complexity of their cultural practices. Now turning to the ritual of the sacred wine, we uncover yet another fascinating aspect of Carthaginian religious life. Wine, a symbol of joy and abundance, held a sacred place in their festivals and ceremonies. During these events, large quantities of wine were offered to the gods as a gesture of gratitude and reverence. The Carthaginians believed that by sharing their finest wine with the divine, they could foster goodwill and ensure prosperity for their community. This practice was not just an act of piety, it was a communal experience that brought people together, strengthening their bonds and reinforcing their shared identity. The offering of wine was often accompanied by elaborate rituals, including prayers, chants, and ceremonial pouring. Priests and participants would gather around altars, raising cups filled with wine in honor of the gods. The wine itself was carefully selected, often from the best harvests, and considered a precious gift worthy of the divine. This act of offering was seen as a way to bridge the gap between the mortal world and the heavens, inviting the gods to partake in the celebration and bless the people with their favor. For the Carthaginians, wine was more than just a drink. It was a symbol of life, vitality, and divine favor. Its use in religious ceremonies reflected their belief in the importance of celebrating the gifts of the earth and acknowledging the gods as their ultimate providers. The communal nature of these rituals also highlighted the Carthaginians' emphasis on unity and collective worship, as people from all walks of life came together to honor their deities. However, to the Romans, this ritual seemed extravagant and excessive. Known for their more restrained and structured approach to religion, the Romans viewed the Carthaginians' lavish use of wine as a sign of indulgence rather than devotion. They struggled to understand how such a seemingly mundane element could hold such spiritual significance. To the Carthaginians, though, the ritual of the sacred wine was a powerful expression of their connection to the divine and to one another, a testament to the richness of their cultural and spiritual life. As we move forward, another intriguing ritual awaits, shedding further light on the complexities of Carthaginian worship. As we venture into the next layer of Carthaginian spirituality, we encounter the ritual of the sacred mask, a practice steeped in mystery and theatricality. In this ritual, masks played a central role, serving as tools to channel the presence of divine spirits. The Carthaginians believed that by wearing these intricately crafted masks, participants could transcend their mortal identities and embody the gods themselves. This transformative act was both a spiritual and communal experience, blurring the lines between the human and the divine. The masks themselves were works of art, often made from wood, clay, or even precious metals, and adorned with symbols representing the deities they honored. Each mask was designed to evoke the specific attributes of the god or goddess it represented. from the serene expressions of fertility deities to the fierce visages of war gods. The process of creating these masks was considered sacred, with artisans working under the guidance of priests to ensure their spiritual potency. During the ritual, participants would don these masks and engage in elaborate performances, including dances, chants, and dramatic reenactments of mythological stories. These theatrical elements were not merely for entertainment. They were acts of devotion designed to invoke the gods' presence and secure their blessings. The ceremonies often took place at night, illuminated by flickering torchlight, adding an otherworldly atmosphere that heightened the sense of connection to the divine. To the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred mask was a profound expression of their faith, a way to bring the gods into their midst and seek their favor. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans, this practice was deeply unsettling. The use of masks to channel spirits was seen as eerie and even dangerous, a dark art that defied their understanding of religion. The Romans, with their more restrained and structured rituals, viewed the Carthaginians' use of masks as a sign of superstitious excess, further fueling their perception of Carthage as a land of strange and unsettling customs. Yet, for the Carthaginians, this ritual was a cornerstone of their spiritual life, a vivid demonstration of their belief in the power of transformation and the tangible presence of the divine. As we continue our exploration, another ritual awaits, shedding further light on the intricate tapestry of Carthaginian worship and its impact on the ancient world. Now shifting our focus to the communal heart of Carthaginian worship, we arrive at the ritual of the sacred feast. These grand gatherings were more than just meals. They were elaborate ceremonies designed to honor the gods and strengthen the bonds within the community. Held in sacred spaces, often within temples or open courtyards, these feasts were a vibrant blend of devotion, celebration, and unity. The preparation for these feasts was itself a ritual. Priests and community members worked together to select the finest offerings, grains, fruits, livestock, and wine, ensuring that every dish symbolized gratitude and reverence. The food was then presented to the gods before being shared among the participants, a practice that reinforced the belief that the divine was present and partaking in the feast. The act of eating together was seen as a way to commune with the gods and with one another, creating a sense of shared purpose and spiritual connection. The atmosphere of these feasts was one of joy and abundance. Music, dancing, and storytelling accompanied the meal, turning the event into a multisensory celebration of life and faith. For the Carthaginians, these gatherings were a way to express their collective identity and reinforce their shared values. They were moments of unity where social hierarchies were momentarily set aside, and everyone, rich or poor, young or old, could partake equally. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans, these feasts were viewed as excessive and indulgent. The lavish displays of food and drink, combined with the ecstatic celebrations, struck the Romans as decadent and immoral. Their own religious practices were far more restrained, emphasizing discipline and order, so the Carthaginian feast seemed to them like a surrender to hedonism rather than an act of piety. This cultural clash further deepened the Roman disdain for Carthaginian customs, painting them as a people driven by excess. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred feast was a vital expression of their spirituality and community. It was a reminder that the gods were not distant and unapproachable but present in the very act of breaking bread together. As we move forward, we uncover yet another layer of Carthaginian rituals, each revealing more about their complex and deeply symbolic relationship with the divine. Now shifting our gaze to a ritual that tested both the body and the spirit, we delve into the ritual of the sacred firewalking. This awe-inspiring practice was not merely a physical challenge but a profound act of devotion, designed to demonstrate unwavering faith and spiritual fortitude. Participants would walk barefoot across a bed of scorching embers, a test that symbolized their trust in the gods and their ability to transcend earthly pain. The preparation for this ritual was meticulous. Priests would carefully arrange the fire pit, selecting specific woods believed to carry spiritual significance. Chants and prayers would fill the air, invoking the gods to bless the participants and ensure their safety. The act of firewalking itself was seen as a direct communion with the divine, a moment where the physical and spiritual realms intertwined. For the Carthaginians, it was a testament to the power of faith, a belief that the gods would protect those who walked with pure hearts. The symbolic meaning of this ritual was multifaceted. It represented purification, as the fire was thought to cleanse the soul of impurities. It also symbolized transformation, illustrating the believer's journey from fear to enlightenment. To walk across the flames unscathed was seen as a sign of divine favor, a mark of spiritual strength that elevated the participant within the community. However, to neighboring cultures, particularly the Romans, this practice was met with shock and disbelief. The idea of willingly subjecting oneself to such pain seemed reckless and irrational. Roman observers, steeped in their own values of order and restraint, viewed firewalking as a dangerous display of fanaticism rather than a sacred act. This stark contrast in perception further highlighted the cultural divide between Carthage and its adversaries. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred firewalking was a profound expression of their faith and resilience. It was a reminder that true devotion required courage and trust, qualities that defined their relationship with the divine. As we continue our exploration, we uncover yet another ritual that reveals the depth of Carthaginian spirituality and its impact on the ancient world. Now turning to a ritual that resonated through the very air of Carthage, we explore the ritual of the sacred hymn. This practice, deeply rooted in the Carthaginian belief system, involved the singing of hymns to invoke the presence and favor of the gods. Unlike other rituals that relied on physical acts or offerings, this one harnessed the power of sound and melody to bridge the gap between the mortal and divine realms. The hymns themselves were meticulously composed, often by revered priests or poets who were believed to have a special connection to the gods. The lyrics were filled with praises, invocations, and petitions, designed to capture the attention of the deities and compel them to listen. The words were not just poetic but carried deep spiritual significance, often recounting the deeds of the gods or the history of the Carthaginian people. Musically, these hymns were rich and complex, accompanied by instruments like flutes, drums, and lyres. The melodies were crafted to evoke specific emotions and spiritual states. The rhythms could be soothing or intense depending on the purpose of the hymn. Some were sung to calm the gods and seek their blessings, while others were meant to stir divine wrath or protection. The act of singing itself was seen as a form of worship, a way for the community to unite in their devotion and amplify their collective voice to the heavens. For the Carthaginians, these hymns were more than just songs. They were a vital part of their religious life. They believed that the right words, sung with the right intentions, could move the gods to action. This made the singers and musicians highly respected figures within their society, as they held the power to influence divine will. To outsiders, however, the ritual of the sacred hymn often seemed mysterious and otherworldly. The combination of enchanting melodies and cryptic lyrics created an aura of mysticism that was both fascinating and unsettling. Roman observers, in particular, viewed these ceremonies with a mix of awe and suspicion, seeing them as a form of magic rather than genuine worship. This perception further deepened the cultural divide, as the Carthaginians saw their hymns as a sacred dialogue with the divine, while others interpreted them as a form of sorcery. As we move forward, we'll uncover yet another ritual that continues to reveal the intricate and often startling spiritual practices of ancient Carthage. Now shifting our focus to another captivating ritual, we delve into the ritual of the sacred drum. This practice held a profound place in Carthaginian religious ceremonies, where the beat of the drum was believed to resonate with the divine. Far more than a musical instrument, the drum was seen as a powerful tool to communicate with the gods. its rhythms acting as a bridge between the earthly and spiritual realms. The drums used in these rituals were often large and intricately designed, their surfaces adorned with symbols representing the deities or cosmic forces. The drummers themselves were highly skilled, their role considered sacred. They were trained to produce specific rhythms that corresponded to different aspects of worship, whether to invoke blessings, ward off evil, or summon the presence of a particular god. The tempo and intensity of the drumming could vary widely, from slow, steady pulses that induced a meditative state to rapid, thunderous beats designed to energize and inspire. For the Carthaginians, the drum's rhythms were not just heard but felt. The vibrations were believed to permeate the body and soul, aligning the worshipper with the divine will. This made the ritual of the sacred drum a communal experience where the entire gathering would be swept up in the powerful cadence, united in their shared devotion. It was a practice that transcended language, relying instead on the primal force of rhythm to convey emotion and intention. To outsiders, however, the ritual often appeared strange and unsettling. The relentless, pounding beats could seem almost hypnotic, creating an atmosphere that felt both exhilarating and unnerving. Roman observers, in particular, struggled to understand its purpose, sometimes dismissing it as chaotic or even barbaric. Yet, for the Carthaginians, this ritual was deeply spiritual, a way to connect with the gods through the universal language of rhythm. As we explore further, we'll uncover yet another ritual that continues to reveal the rich and often enigmatic spiritual world of ancient Carthage. Now turning to the ritual of the sacred water, we uncover a practice that highlighted the profound significance of water within Carthaginian spirituality. Water, with its life-giving and purifying qualities, played a central role in their religious ceremonies, symbolizing renewal, purification, and the washing away of impurities, both physical and spiritual. The ritual often took place near natural water sources such as rivers, springs, or the sea, which were believed to hold sacred power. Participants would immerse themselves in the water, either fully or partially, while priests chanted prayers and offerings were made to the gods. This act of immersion was thought to cleanse the soul, preparing worshippers for communion with the divine. The water itself was seen as a conduit for divine energy, capable of absorbing and neutralizing negative forces. In some ceremonies, water was also collected in sacred vessels and used to purify objects, altars, or even entire communities during times of crisis. The act of sprinkling or pouring water was accompanied by specific incantations, further enhancing its spiritual potency. For the Carthaginians, this ritual was not just about physical cleanliness, but about achieving a state of inner purity and harmony with the gods. To neighboring cultures, however, the ritual often seemed perplexing. The Romans, in particular, viewed it as an unnecessary or even superstitious practice. They struggled to grasp its deeper symbolism, interpreting it as mere ritualistic washing rather than a profound act of spiritual renewal. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred water was a vital expression of their connection to the natural world and the divine forces that governed it. As we continue our journey, we'll encounter yet another ritual that sheds light on the intricate tapestry of Carthaginian spiritual life. Now shifting our focus to the ritual of the sacred oil, we uncover a practice that held deep spiritual significance for the Carthaginians. Sacred oil was more than just a substance, it was a powerful symbol of divine favor and sanctity. In this ritual, priests would anoint statues of the gods as well as individuals with specially prepared oil believed to carry the blessings of the deities. The act of anointing was seen as a way to consecrate and purify, marking the recipient as sacred or protected by divine power. The oil itself was often infused with aromatic herbs and other natural ingredients, chosen for their symbolic and spiritual properties. When applied to statues, it was thought to awaken the presence of the gods within them, making them receptive to prayers and offerings. For individuals, the anointing was a transformative act, believed to cleanse them of impurities and prepare them for important religious roles or ceremonies. This could include warriors before battle, leaders during coronations, or worshippers seeking healing or divine intervention. The ritual was deeply embedded in Carthaginian religious life, often accompanied by chants, prayers, and ceremonial gestures. The oil's fragrance was said to rise like incense, carrying the worshippers' petitions to the heavens. For the Carthaginians, this was not merely a symbolic act but a tangible connection to the divine, a way to bridge the gap between the earthly and the spiritual realms. However, to outsiders, particularly the Romans, this ritual seemed outdated and overly ceremonial. They viewed the use of sacred oil as an archaic practice, a relic of a bygone era. The meticulous preparation and application of the oil struck them as excessive, a stark contrast to their own more practical and straightforward religious customs. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred oil was a vital expression of their faith, a way to honor the gods and seek their favor in every aspect of life. As we move forward, we'll explore another intriguing ritual that further reveals the depth and complexity of Carthaginian spiritual practices. Now turning to the ritual of the sacred incense, we delve into a practice that enveloped Carthaginian religious ceremonies in an atmosphere of mysticism and devotion. Incense was not merely a fragrant offering, it was a sensory bridge between the earthly and the divine. When burned, the aromatic smoke was believed to carry prayers and praises directly to the gods, filling sacred spaces with an aura of holiness. The preparation of the incense was a meticulous process, often involving resins, spices, and herbs chosen for their symbolic properties and rich scents. Myrrh, frankincense, and other precious ingredients were blended to create a unique fragrance that was said to please the deities and invite their presence. As the incense burned, its smoke would rise in delicate plumes, symbolizing the ascent of human supplications to the heavens. In temples and during public ceremonies, priests would carefully tend to the burning incense, ensuring it was offered at precise moments to align with prayers or rituals. The scent permeated the air, creating an immersive experience for worshippers who believed it purified the space and opened channels of communication with the divine. For the Carthaginians, this ritual was a profound expression of reverence and a way to actively engage with their gods. To outsiders, particularly the Romans, the use of incense in such elaborate ceremonies was seen as both exotic and extravagant. The Carthaginians' dedication to the ritual, with its intricate preparations and rich aromas, stood in stark contrast to the more austere religious practices of Rome. Yet, for the Carthaginians, the ritual of the sacred incense was a vital act of faith, a sensory reminder of their connection to the gods and the spiritual richness of their culture. As we conclude our exploration of these 30 shocking Carthaginian rituals, it's clear that each practice, no matter how mysterious or misunderstood, held profound meaning for its people. These rituals were not just acts of worship but reflections of a culture that sought to bridge the gap between the human and the divine in ways that continue to intrigue and inspire us today. From the somber depths of child sacrifice to the aromatic heights of sacred incense, the 30 Carthaginian rituals we've explored today reveal a civilization steeped in spiritual complexity and devotion. Each practice, no matter how shocking to outsiders, was a cornerstone of Carthaginian identity, reflecting their profound connection to the divine and their relentless pursuit of favor from the gods. These rituals were not merely acts of worship, they were expressions of a culture that sought to navigate the uncertainties of life through faith, unity, and tradition. The Carthaginians' reverence for rituals like the Sacred Fire of Tanit, the blood oath of warriors, and the Festival of Moloch highlights their belief in the power of the sacred to shape their world. Whether through the ecstatic dances of the sacred dances or the solemn offerings of the first fruits, these practices were woven into the fabric of their daily lives, shaping their society and leaving a legacy that continues to captivate us. For the ancient world, these rituals were often met with awe, fear, and misunderstanding. The Romans, in particular, viewed them as alien and excessive, yet for the Carthaginians, they were essential acts of survival and spiritual fulfillment. Today, they offer us a window into a civilization that, though long vanished, remains a testament to the enduring power of faith and tradition. What do you think these rituals reveal about the Carthaginian worldview? How do they challenge our understanding of ancient cultures? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's continue this fascinating conversation. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysteries of Carthage, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to explore more historical wonders with us. Until next time, keep uncovering the past.